Hey everybody, and welcome to Dominion Cards, the video series where we take a strategic, in-depth look at various cards from the board game Dominion. Today we're looking at Astrolabe. This is a 3-cost treasure duration card from Seaside 2nd edition, and it says, now and at the start of your next turn, +1 coin and +1 buy. So this is the third card in Seaside that is effectively a non-terminal stop card that's pretty cheap. It's a duration, and it gives you a coin this turn and on the next turn. So Fishing Village and Lighthouse also do that as well. Now, of course, each of these cards gives some other benefit on top, but we've already talked about the impact of, is a duration card giving you 1 coin now and next turn better than a silver. I don't feel the need to go heavily into it again. I have discussed it on those other cards videos, but the summary is that it's a little bit worse at hitting 5 on turn 3 and 4 than silver, but if you're not in any rush to hit 5, then in the long term you may find that this is a fine opening because you actually want the extra bonus long term. And in this case it would be +buy, which you're probably not using straight away, but at some point you might figure you want it, and you've got a reasonable opportunity early in the game to get it. So Astrolabe is what I call a weak source of +buy. So what I mean by that is it's a card that you're only buying because you want the +buy that it offers, because what else that it's offering you is not very much, very little other bonuses from it. Some cards that I wouldn't call weak +buy might give you +buy alongside something that you wanted anyway. So you think of cards like Festival, you buying that because it's a village, it's money, it's a +buy as a whole package, and sometimes you get it anyway because all you want is a village, and well, you've got all of your buys sorted. So something that I call a weak source of +buy, you're buying it specifically because you want to add more +buy. And, they put a big limit on how much +buy you think is reasonable. You have to work out how much you're going to want, because you do have to go out of your way to get it. And of course, weak +buy, tends to be worse when you've got cards like Workers' Village and Festival and so on that are giving you the +buy anyway. Stuff like Wharf, all of those. Now, by being a duration card, it is important to note that while Astrolabe is a stop card on the turn that you play it, it effectively isn't on the next turn because it never goes back into your hand and you never draw it. In that regard, it's kind of like a market, right? It's sort of giving you +1 coin, +1 buy. It's not costing you an action, and it sort of doesn't cost you a draw as well. So sort of like all of the bonuses you're getting from market. And for a card costing 3, that sounds decent. However, in practice, I've currently found that it doesn't really feel that impactful. Obviously, this is not a market. It's like half of a stop card market instead, and that means that this is not really a spammable card like market is. You can't just gain a lot of these and play them and think it'll be smooth because half of your turns it's a market, right? It doesn't really work that way. It's still weak stop card half of the time. You can't just throw loads of this in. So yeah, I found the fact that it's a duration is not super meaningful to it in that regard in terms of like how I've been playing games. It just is. It's nice that it is, and it's not a stop card on the next turn, but if it was a stop card on the next turn, I'd probably still be buying it anyway because I just need the +buy. So Astrolabe I consider to be a good engine card. Given that it's like a duration that earns you money, there is the thought of, well, can I use this in a non-engine and basically smooth money out across turns? Because, on the next turn it is effectively like a cantrip coin, right? The thing is that you normally don't need the +buy on decks that aren't engines. There are some exceptions. And, to be fair, Astrolabe does give you the +buy across 2 turns, so it's a little bit easier to get the +buy when you need it. However, most of the time when I'm getting +buys, it's because I'm building an engine and I'm actually able to scale the output of each turn up to a reasonable amount. Decks that struggle to draw much normally are looking to spike high price points rather than just like smooth money out across turns sometimes, so I find that maybe like a silver would still be a better card than Astrolabe in those decks. If you're not really using the +buy, Astrolabe's doing very little for you, actually. Oh, it's doing something, but it's really not that good. So there is a genuine 2-card combo for Astrolabe with Guildhall. This is a project from Renaissance. When you gain a treasure, +1 coffers. It is pretty decent, actually, as far as a 2-card combo, and this is a real 2-card combo. You can play a game where you're just buying these, and the base cards otherwise, and still perform pretty well with it. So some people on Discord have been looking at this and have given some advice. So Geronimo on Discord, he runs a Dominion simulator, and he's given some advice by what the simulations show on how to play this. So what you will do is that you buy only Astrolabes until you can first afford Guildhall, which is your first 5. Then once you have Guildhall, you still want to buy Astrolabes until you have 4, but every time after you've bought the Guildhall that you have extra plus buys and not enough money to spend on like an Astrolabe or something, you want to be buying coppers with it. So how this works is that because Astrolabe and coppers are treasures, Guildhall will be giving you coffers every time you buy them, and Astrolabe's going to be giving you a lot of buys because each one you play is basically like 2 buys. Once you have 4 or more Astrolabes and Guildhall active, you can start buying provinces straight away. Now, what's important to note here is that the new rules with coffers now is that you can spend them as soon as you get them. Like, you can do it at any time. Therefore, if you can't quite hit 8 in your hand, but you have a bunch of extra buys from Astrolabe, you can buy coppers to get the coffers that you need to boost you up to 8 and buy a province on that same turn. So don't forget about that. If you can't hit province, but you do have like at least 3 money, it is, without spending coffers, you can indeed just totally buy more Astrolabes as well. And yeah, that's sort of how it goes. And literally all you're really doing is buying Astrolabes, coppers and points, and 1 Guildhall. Well, you can only buy Guildhall once, but Akuchi on Discord has done some metrics on this to see how good this is as a strategy. You get to 4 provinces by turn 10 to 12, 6 provinces by turn 11 to 14, and 8 provinces and maybe like a duchy as well, around turns 13 to 16. So that's pretty good, actually. Like this, there will be engines that are able to close the game out at around this time and also beat this on points, but they've got to be very, very good engines. What this has good going for it is that it's very good at maintaining the ability to buy provinces. Your decks do get a little bit worse as you add victory cards in, but this is able to spike provinces very easily because it's like constantly buying coppers and getting a load of coffers. So as opposed to something like a Groom Rush with a pretty good victory card like Mill, I think Groom might be one of the better ones. This is like comparable early on, but it actually gets to maintain good scoring much later. So this isn't the most powerful 2-card combo out there, but it is actually pretty good. There will be a whole bunch of boards where the engine just can't compete with this, and all you're doing is just Astrolabe Guildhall combo. Outside of this 2-card combo, there isn't really that much else to add about Astrolabe. So this is just basic vanilla effects only. It's just giving you a coin and a buy. It's a treasure, it's a duration. And those things do make the card different. So, the fact that this is a treasure is different to it being like an action that gives you +1 action in a number of ways. But outside of the Guildhall combo, like none of those feel particularly meaningful enough to mention with Astrolabe specifically. There are things like, it's a treasure, so you might want more than when you have keep on the board or something, but because that applies generically to every treasure, I don't really feel the need to call stuff out like that specifically. It is what it is as a treasure, basically. We don't really have good community metrics on how good this card is yet, because it's fairly new, but I myself would probably put it in the bottom third to bottom quarter of cards. Like, it is just a weak Sorcerer plus buy, and it's a perfectly fine weak Sorcerer plus buy, but it is a weak Sorcerer plus buy. It is worth noting that the next turn benefit, although you're getting it at the start of your next turn, most of the time that's not actually doing anything until your buy phase. So you compare this to other cards like Wharf, Fishing Village, Haven, and so on. Those are actually giving you meaningful things at the start of your turn that can help how your turn plays out. But Astrolabe doesn't really do that. It's just giving you, by the time you get to your buy phase, you've got a bit more money to spend an extra buy. Well, okay. So compared to like other duration cards, the fact that it sticks out between turns and does something at the start of your next turn isn't really contributing that much to like how you're really playing your deck and stuff like other duration cards do. So that's really all I have to say about Astrolabe. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head over to the online client. I'm going to generate some random kingdoms, and we will be seeing how Astrolabe fares. I have got Alchemy and Prosperity mixed in here because, we've already done videos with those. If you're watching all these in order, that is. So, nothing special otherwise in the setup. What have we got here? So we have Trashing with Lookout and also Crystal Ball. We have... Do we have any village? We do not at all. Well, technically Crystal Ball could be a village, sort of, but not really. That means it's hard to draw. There is Magnate and Courtyard, but that's probably all you're really doing. You're only playing that once. There's also stuff like Pirate. Might be, what's your best terminal here? Maybe it is something like Pirate, honestly. That might be the best terminal on the board. This is very clearly a very money-style kingdom. In terms of plus buy, Astrolabe is not the only one. There's also Tiara. Tiara is a lot better than Astrolabe as a source of plus buy. I think it's a treasure as well. It's a little more expensive, but, it's pretty good, a Tiara, I think. So, what am I going to do on this kingdom? Is it just like some mass crystal ball thing? It might be. And you get a pirate and you can pick up crystal balls. And to be honest, you might not even need like Lookout. You can probably open silver. Do you bother with the Tiara? I guess you get 2 silvers first. I think it's a little too early for Tiara, but the top decking's nice. But it's hard to hit like crystal ball otherwise. But I guess Tiara can top deck a silver or something if you miss. But yeah, maybe I'll just get double silver. I don't think I'd bother with Lookout, and I will just be getting a pirate and a bunch of crystal balls, and I'll probably trash the stuff. And then it's just this crystal ball thing, I guess, where I also have a bunch of pirates, probably. That sounds good to me. It's not like there's really any attacks here to slow the opponent down. And what are they going to do? Like Smugglers doesn't feel great compared to something like Pirate. Clearly not a vassal board. Even Lookout just feels like it hoses your early turns too much. It's just not that good. Crystal Ball, Tiara, these sound reasonable to me with Pirate. Maybe even you can slot a Magnate in at some point, honestly. With the plus buy from Tiara, it's not that hard if you draw Pirates Dead to maybe buy a copper or something and play all of your pirates. So yeah, I think these last 4 cards are really the ones that I want. Tiara, Crystal Ball, Magnate, Pirate. All the expensive stuff. Ignore everything cheaper. Courtyard's not bad, honestly. If I get a low value turn, maybe I prefer Courtyard over Magnate. I was just thinking I'd get a lot of treasures. And Pirate can put an extra treasure in your hand, and then you've got Magnate to draw, and you've got Tiara. That all sounds quite nice to me. Eventually you want golds, not just crystal balls, but you get them with Pirate. So I think that's what we're doing. Astrolabe, just not very good here, honestly. So I'd probably just ignore Astrolabe on this kingdom, I think. That's just a very non-engine-y kingdom there. Right, let's look at kingdom number 2. What have we got here? So we've got Potion, and we've also got Charlatan messing with the curses. Okay. Now I've got Potion because there's Apothecary. All right, interesting. What's the trashing? There is Apprentice, there is Remodel, there is Replace. So it's actually quite bad to get rid of coppers, and that actually pulls me towards Apothecary. Now, unfortunately, there is Charlatan junking, and you can't pick those up with Apothecary, but they are still money cards. There's no village, again. There's really no village this time, not even something like Crystal Ball. So that means that a lot of... there's no engine, so actually, trashing coppers doesn't even feel that great. So what do I want to do? Is Apothecary worth it? I think so. I think Apothecary will actually be decent here. And then what? Charlatan? Is giving the curses still good? I think so. They're still negative points, right? And they sort of get in the way of stuff like Apothecary. I don't really know how good Astrolabe is here. I don't really see much value in the plus buy, to be honest. I can't really imagine building beyond 1 province. I do prefer Patrol over Charlatan. It will draw curses, And in this game, curses are also treasures that give you money, so that's pretty good. Replace is usually nice, but I don't know on this kingdom. I don't think I'm ever gaining any 6-cost cards. When am I getting gold? I guess I'm getting gold at some point, but, patrol, smithy, I guess they're kind of the same here, really. But honestly, I'm probably opening potion and... Is Astrolabe better than silver? If I'm going to be going for apothecary, do I prefer Astrolabe over silver? Maybe it's fine. Right, it's fine. Potion, yeah, I think potion over remodel. I can't really justify a remodel card in this deck, I don't think, so I'm probably just opening Astrolabe potion. And why Astrolabe? Because I feel it's going to be a little bit better than silver with apothecary. Like, I will actually get some chances to maybe make use of it, because, it'll help me get more apothecaries, basically, because apothecary's so cheap, and I'll occasionally draw these potions. And other than that, I guess I'm buying Charlatan, and maybe later I get a smithy or a patrol or something. I guess that's really what I'm doing here. So, yeah, I think Astrolabe works out okay, but it's not spectacular. Like, I don't think the board would feel that different without it. It's a nice apothecary board, so I think Astrolabe helps out with that. Like, you just need... Apothecary really likes extra buy, so... Yes, I think Astrolabe was actually all right there, but it was still a weak kingdom. It wasn't an engine, and we still went for it. Funny. Oh, well, here's an engine and a half. We got Platinum Colony as well, so it's really an engine. So we got King's Court. We've got Trashing Lookout and Apprentice. Technically mine, but not really. We've got Quarry as well to make like King's Court very cheap. Now our only plus buy is Astrolabe. That's interesting. That means we can't King's Court it. There's also 3 kingdom treasures here. There's War Chest, Quarry, and Astrolabe. Astrolabe is going to be very powerful here. You get to like King's Court Bazaars and King's Court Minions for loads and loads of money. You've got War Chests to pick up Minions and Bazaars. But there's also Astrolabe. I'm opening... I guess I'm opening Lookout Quarry, but I mean, maybe eventually I get to Apprentice and I can apprentice the Lookout. Right, I'm probably going to be doing that. I got a chance with War Chest to pick it up. Yeah, the drawing's a bit awkward here because it's only really Minion and Apprentice, and I guess King's Court Bazaar. I guess you can draw. I will be getting Astrolabe at some point because I will be making use of plus buy. It's very restrictive, the fact that we've got Astrolabe here. If this was any action card plus buy, we would have a lot more buys to play with. Ironically, we don't, because it happens to be a treasure, so it's actually worse than normal, but we have no choice, right? Like, we can't get any plus buys without Astrolabe, so we are absolutely doing it. There's no gainers that we can King's Court, because the only gainer and the only plus buy are both treasures. I mean, technically there's mine, but again, we don't really care that much about mine. Mine's not even the worst thing in the world here, honestly. You get to apprentice it later, and you can probably pick up, like, coppers into Astrolabe or something. Like, that's actually not bad. And then later on, I guess you can probably turn stuff like Quarry into a gold or something. And of course, there's Platinum as well. So actually, there's King's Court to play it a lot. This is actually a decent mine board, right? You can turn a copper. You King's Court a mine, you can turn a copper all the way to Platinum in one turn. That's actually pretty good, not going to lie. So, yeah, this is a pretty crazy engine, and Astrolabe is a necessary card here. So, if there was any other source of plus buy, I would probably be getting that, but it's funny that there happens to be a few mine tricks. You can get a couple of extra Astrolabes a little bit more easily here. So... yeah, decent kingdom. Like, every card is really good here, except Mining Village, probably. It's like the only bad card on this board, I think. You just don't need it at all. There's an argument you could buy it early and trash it and try and get to a higher value, but, Quarry is probably even better at doing that. So, yeah. Yeah, this is a very good card for everything. A very strong engine, Astrolabe. A necessary card there. Kingdom number 4. There is Potion. That's the only special setup. So I noticed that we've got Apothecary again. But this time I notice we have Wharf for plus buy and Council Room and Workers' Village. So we're probably not bothering with Astrolabe at all, is my guess. Now for trashing we have Sailor. Sailors and remodel. Sailors quite nice. We've got Wharf as well, so we get to like play Wharves a little bit earlier too. There is trashing. There's junking with which. Trashing with which is junking. We've got Ironworks. Do I care that much? I guess it gets you workers' villages. That's actually pretty important. It's the only village pile, so I'm probably opening Ironworks. I think it's going to be better than remodel. Or do we open Sailor instead? Maybe we're supposed to open Sailor. That feels a little bit better. I mean, you can get a Sailor with Ironworks, but yeah, I think Sailor's going to help me hit 5. It's very nice if I hit it turn 3, I get to like buy a Wharf and also play it and have a nice turn 4 as well, or something like that, you know. Apothecary doesn't feel as good here. There isn't great ways to trash coppers because there's Sailor and remodel, but like, you know what, we'll get there eventually, right? But there is like Witch gumming us up with curses, so I don't really care for Apothecary, so I think Astrolabe is ignorable here. We're trying to do like, you know, use Ironworks to gain workers' villages, maybe some Sailors. Then, you know, you're playing a Wharf engine and you've also got Witch. That feels like the thing that you're doing. It is worth noting that occasionally if you've got an Ironworks, you could probably pick up an Astrolabe to get an extra coin. Like, there, you know, wow, what a synergy. And I guess it's fine. But to be honest, I'd probably rather have a silver on this board. Astrolabe just doesn't feel very good here at all. We're just trying to get thin and play Wharves and Witches a lot. That's really the main goal of this kingdom, I think. So I think I can see us ignoring Astrolabe here. I don't think it has much impact on this particular board. Overpowered by very strong sources of +buy. And here is the 5th and final kingdom. There is Potion, that's the only extra setup. And that's for Transmute, which is usually appallingly bad, so we're probably not going to use it here. Let's see. We have Sentry and Trading Post for Trashing, and technically Transmute. Well, it's clearly Sentry is the big winner here. Is there an engine we can build? Yes, there is Throne Room for a village, and you can play that on Pawn or Wishing Well. And there is Vault for draw, which is very bad draw. But there is Sentry. I suppose you can Throne Room the Sentry as well as a village. So drawing is quite tough here. It is possible, though, and you can Throne the Vaults, but you're not getting that much of it. Now, in terms of +buy, there is Pawn as well as Astrolabe. I think I prefer Silver early on over Astrolabe. I really want to hit Sentry, and just Silver's going to be more efficient. I don't really care that much about money smoothing here. Soon I'm going to get to stage where I can probably start drawing my deck. Sentry's going to help me get thin. And then, see, I guess the only issue is there's not really a great way to scale money. The problem is that while you've got Throne Room, there are no real action cards that are giving you money. You can technically discard with Vault, but it's hard to get a high hand size anyway. You have got Wishing Well. You know, you can discard with Vault very similar cards, like all coppers or something, and then it's easy to draw up with Wishing Well if you've otherwise drawn your deck. There is some use for Wishing Well here, but otherwise this isn't actually a very strong kingdom. I don't know how good Astrolabe is because I'm not sure how worthwhile it is to try and build up to better than Province. Having an Astrolabe is nice though, but is it more likely that I will get a Pawn at some point? Astrolabe's just way better than Pawn, I think. Well, is that true? Because you have got Throne Room. I guess with Throne Room you'd get other things you want. Smugglers seems decent here, I think. Yeah, it will help you get a lot of copies of stuff like Throne Room and Vault. If your opponent tries to go big money, your Smugglers would be bad. And actually, I wonder how good the engine actually is. Like, because you could do like Harem money, which that doesn't sound very good, to be honest. And your opponent can just smuggle a bunch of the Harems as well, so that sort of undoes the value of going for them, thinking about it. So, yeah, that doesn't sound very good. I'll pick up the Harems if I get to smuggle them, I guess. You know, my opponent's trying to do a money strategy. The engine should win, I think. I probably get an Astrolabe here, maybe, but I can easily see that maybe you don't. Maybe Pawn is just better. I guess the thing with Pawn, it only costs 2 and it's hard to justify getting that, but it plays a lot nicer with Throne Room. It's really nice to be able to take the plus action with the Pawn, like when you throne it. So, yeah, just stymied by draw here, but otherwise pretty good engine. It just doesn't seem like a very powerful one, but there's no particularly good money card. You can argue Vault is a pretty good money card, actually. It helps you buy like Harems very consistently, and then you can actually hit province fairly consistently. Maybe, you know what, the non-engine feels like it actually has a chance here, thinking about it. I'm just a little bit worried that you scale too slowly trying to build the engine. And if you don't build an engine, the engine player struggles because of smugglers. Like, their only good way of gaining requires you to also be gaining engine components, which you're not, right? How much do they want to smuggle, like silvers and harems? Like, they're happy to have the harems, but they're actually not really happy to have them, thinking about it. And Vault just sounds nice. So I could go either way, but I think in both cases I don't really like Astrolabe here that well. It doesn't seem very good, but I can see circumstances in which either player actually ends up buying one somehow. Well, the non-engine player's never really going to go above 8, let's be real. Like, they're never really going to make that much use. But maybe in the late game, you know, having the plus buy helps you duchy dance a little bit. But you don't really want to duchy dance against an engine with smugglers. That's like the real winner for the engine. They want to be able to, like, throne room smugglers and steal all the duchies from you. And maybe a bunch of the harems as well. But I don't know how quickly they get their engine set up to do that. And then, like, their engine sort of falls apart at that point anyway. So you don't really want a lot of throne rooms if you're just gaining a load of victory cards and harems and stuff, right? Yeah, so anyway, overall, Astrolabe there was only okay, I think. Like, it didn't seem to blow the socks off of any kingdom. Sometimes it was a necessary evil that you bought, really. But otherwise, you know, there was that King's Court kingdom where it was, like, particularly bad because it wasn't an action card, but you still bought it anyway because you had to. Yeah, like, it's just a simple basic card, and it's only okay in power level. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.